Hi everyone, it's Aishatu, and welcome to the Making Your Own series, where I speak to self-starters who are making a life of their own with a new business or scaling up their business. And today, with me, I have got Nicola Anderson, and yeah, Nicola is also a member of the Freelance HER 100 cohort. You can see how many high quality women we've got in this group. And the Freelance 100 program is a business accelerator program for women based in Greater Manchester who want to scale up or start up a business or test out ideas in the creative media, digital tech space. And yeah, we're having a smashing time so far, aren't we, Nicola?
Yeah, it's great fun.
So thank you so much for joining me.
It's my
And I'd like to,
pleasure.
yay, and I'd love to kick off with just asking you to tell us about yourself and your business.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to speak. I am actually loving your shows, so please go back and
Yeah.
watch other shows. They're really good. Yeah, so I'm a freelance graphic designer and web designer and a brand consultant. My business is mainly helping female entrepreneurs and startups with their visual branding. So if someone needs a logo, it's more than a logo you need. You need the font, you need the color palette, so you can roll
Mm,
it out consistently across social media because people love buying into brands. And if your brand looks inconsistent, then you don't get that professional look.
no.
So I usually work with women with really small budgets that are just starting out, and it's just organically grown that I work with more women because I seem to
Okay.
network better with women than the mixed networking.
Mm,
And I'm very actually passionate about women succeeding in business.
good.
So a lot of I also help businesses that have a logo, have a brand identity, and it doesn't really reflect their business and it's not really
Mm,
speaking to their target audience. So what I'll do is I'll refresh it. And I also freelance through the creative agencies in Manchester,
okay.
through recruitment agencies, creative recruitment agencies, and that
Mm,
keeps my hand in with the big brands and the bigger projects. So whether it's
okay.
a tiny small job or a really massive event,
Mm,
I can deliver it all. That's the skill set that I have. But after working in an international events agency,
mm.
which was my last proper job. um, I give all that big brand experience to startups. Basically, I just package it up differently because they
Yeah.
can't afford to go to an agency, and if they go to the
Mm,
local printers, they won't get the consistency in the brand when they're rolling it out
yeah.
visually on social media or in the marketing material. Yeah, so that's what I do.
Yeah, and it's not just that you're a cheaper version of the big agencies. You're accessible, but that in no way means that you're sort of like some side hustle person just doing it by the wayside.
Yeah, I mean,
You're
a lot
doing,
of businesses don't think they can afford a graphic designer.
yeah.
And when they want a website, they'll go to a web developer rather than a graphic designer. Now,
Mm,
if you go to a web developer, you'll get all the functionality, but you won't get a well-designed website. So yeah, and I empower my clients. I actually give them the copyright to the final logo choice that they've
okay.
made because a lot of designers hold on to the design thinking that they will retain the business that way, and it doesn't. It just breaks down
Wow.
relationships. So when someone comes to me and they ask me for to design them, they'll get several logos throughout a creative process, and then it
Mm,
gets honed in, and then the final logo they're happy with because they've inputted in that creative process. It might
yeah.
not always be the one that I would like them to choose, but
Yeah.
it's the one that they're happy to pay for and stand behind and let it showcase their business. And I think it's only right and fair that they have a copy of that and they can move forward knowing that they don't have to have it on license from me. They own it. They paid for it. They own it. Um, so yeah, that's in my terms and conditions that the can take ownership of them. And then once that process is done, I can help them populate their social media channels with banners, putting the logo in the right position, you know, graphics for specific posts and stuff like that. So yeah, so it all looks lovely across all the platforms. And professional.
I think it's so important that people recognize that that isn't like an industry standard, that you don't just, when a lot of designers create work, they retain certain rights to that work, where you then expected to pay a decent amount if you do want to take it off them. I've had that experience before in work, where in order to sign over to give you like the master files, if you like, and whatnot, you have to pay like a bit, you know, like a bit extra. So it's great that you're actually doing that and giving people freedom and empowering them to own their brand and own their organization,
Some
rather
of
than
my clients are, you know, have the technical skills to be able to manage their own social media channels, and they want to have complete ownership of that on their website as well. But if a client doesn't have that skill set, I will help them along in that process. And I actually only charge for when I'm actually producing stuff on the computer. So a lot of my clients will just ring me up and go, Nicola, how do you do this? Or I'm stuck on this, or I've been trying for hours to do that. And I'm like, oh, well, you need to do this, that, and the other. Because so, you know, some people just need that bit of tech knowledge and then they can carry on. And then some of my other clients are like, not interested in doing this, a bit like I am with my accounts. Not interested in this, so boring to me, anything to do with numbers. Not interested in doing this. Can you manage my, you know, social media channel, and can you populate it and keep it, you know, keep the content vibrant? So yeah, and also, I mean, I've had some right horror stories, you know, of clients have phoned me up crying, saying they paid like thousands of pounds for a website. And I've looked over the website for them, like, can you just have a quick look, see what you think? And I'm like, yeah, it's really good. It's got the content there, text-wise. It converts into many, many languages, which is great. But you've got no imagery. You've got no imagery, and you've paid £4,000. What's all that about? Or other clients that have gone to agencies, you know, design agencies, and they've been charged £90 for a small amend. I'm not down with any of that. I give the login details and the ownership of the site to the client, so they can go on and do it, because your business changes all the time. Things need to be updated all the time, and some people want to be able to do it themselves. And I believe in the empowerment of the ownership of that. So
I think that's a massive I think that's a massive selling point. I think it's so, and it's not it's not something that I think a lot of people consider as part of their ask when they're about to onboard someone to do that kind of work, because they're thinking, oh, I pay this agency to do my work, I don't have to think about it. But the reality is the agency is generally going to do, like, no joke, about 5 minutes of work and charge you each time. And I know what it's like to have like the back end access to a website, because sometimes you could put something on the website and then a new guideline or policy comes out and you need to rip something off the internet. And it's one of those things, like, they're little things like that you wouldn't consider as, you know, like, as something that you had to deliberately have access to. But you empower people to not to have to think about that, and encourage them to manage their business as they, you know, as they need to, in a more efficient way as well. So, and I think that's probably linked to your personality. I think you're a lovely woman who's nice and kind, which is why you're thinking and considering. I think that might be like some mothering in you, like, oh, I want to take care of these people so that they know what they're doing.
Well, I do know how hard it is for women in business, and particularly mothers in business. You know, I was made redundant from my really good, well-paid job when I went back part-time. And, you know, it was absolutely devastating for me, because I absolutely loved that job and I love working there, or for the man, should I say. I love working for the man. And I was sort of forced into freelance work because in my industry, in the creative industry, they're not very flexible. They expect you to work till 10 o'clock at night at a drop of a hat for no extra pay. And I, as a single parent from the get-go, I'd been a single
Right.
parent from the get-go,
Wow.
had to go home and pick up my child
Of
from the
course.
childminder, because childminders don't work till 10
No.
and
And nor should you have to.
why should you have to? I can't understand why companies aren't understanding this. And this is what I
Yeah.
think the great thing out of lockdown is the way how companies have opened their minds to flexible working. You know, the
Yeah.
companies go on about massive skill shortages.
Yeah.
There's not skill shortages. They're
No.
called women that have children. Massive skill sets, but they've got no route back to employment because
Yeah.
of the negativity about working mums.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to acknowledge that as much as they've been open to the change, a big part of it has been kicking and screaming to make that change. And it's like it's been made a legal requirement. If you don't do it, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And this is I said I was going to be limited in my political standpoint on this thing, but
Let's
but
go for it.
but I feel as though the policy that the government has with regards to empowering people to go back to work, even when people have taken time off for illnesses and whatnot, and they want to go back to employment, it can be so inaccessible. And if the government doesn't say you need to treat people this way, that way, or you have to do this, or else you're going to get fined, or you're going to be going against policy and whatnot, if they don't have that as a rule, it doesn't happen in the long term.
And
It simply doesn't occur.
even when there are them laws there, you know, the several protected characteristics that there are in law to protect people, companies don't
Yeah.
adhere to it anyway.
Well, this is what, yeah.
Only if they've got a really good sound management structure, a decent set of values, and actually respect their workers will they adhere to these laws and these policies. Otherwise,
Yeah.
just pay lip service to the things
Exactly. And lip service is just not the one. Lip service is of no use. Lip service is of no use to anyone, because we got lives to live, we've got things to do. And I thought, like, I remember a friend of mine who lives in Germany was saying that I think it was about a year or two ago, they had introduced a final policy saying that childcare was going to be accessible. You didn't have to pay for it now. Like, if you want to go back to work, that was one thing you didn't have to pay for. So I think that's something that a lot of people don't acknowledge as well, that even when you have the skill set and you manage to find the job and you manage to find the hours that you deem to be acceptable, you still need to pay for childcare. So like half of your pay, like anytime you go to work, it's not simply a thing where you take your pay packet going home and living that home life. Like, so much of it's just going to pay for childcare in order for you to just make it to work, and that's it.
And we're the most expensive in Europe for childcare,
Not
and
surprised.
it's just very difficult. If you call it the second mortgage, childcare.
It so is. So on the side of that, then I'll say, as a working mother, it seems like you've found your groove. It seems as though you found the space that you want to occupy. So I'm curious as to, like, why did you join the freelancer program? Because I feel like you've got it all sussed. Like, you've got your clients, you know how to get to your clients, you know the type of service you're giving them. They're paying for some. I imagine they're paying enough for you to live in a way that you feel comfortable. Like, what? No, they're not.
Because I only work part-time in my business, and I earn a lot less being a freelancer than I did when I had my part-time job.
Wow.
But it gives me the flexibility to be there for my son, and that to me is more important than.
Yeah,
But
I've
now
heard
he's
this.
a teenager, which is the ideal situation in lockdown, because he's locked down with a premenopausal middle-aged woman. And I'm locked down with a teenager. It's not a good combination.
Yeah.
So I don't earn a lot of money in my business because I'm not very good at sales.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm not particularly money motivated, and I need to be, because obviously I've got my bills to pay. And someone posted on our mentor group this week that freelancing does not mean it's free. Freelancing ain't free. And I freelance to do jobs. And I'm like, yeah, go on then. And, that ain't paying the bills. So, yeah, when lockdown happened, it did have a really bad effect on my business. All the freelance work with the agencies has gone and not come back. But luckily for me, lots of people are starting their own business. So, that side of the business has picked up and I'm getting new clients that way. But yeah, it's, I'll never be a millionaire, but I will be happy. I have the flexibility that is required when you are a working parent.
So I'm curious then, what is it that finally motivated you to join the program that you're looking to gain? Do you just want to gain selling skills?
No, I always upskill. Every week I look at Eventbrite and see what can I learn. At the moment, I'm learning about Google Analytics. I need to learn the analytics side of monitoring the growth within back-end of websites and your own sort of Google My Business. So I'm looking at that at the moment. My marketing skills aren't the best either. So I need, if there's a free event on, I'm there. So just before Christmas, I did another course called Achieve Her, which was absolutely excellent. And the person who run the course, Una McDonald, she's just a fabulous woman. She told me about this course. And when I read it, I thought, oh, that just seems just like me. But I must say, the first couple of lessons, I think I already know this stuff. Not that I'm still doing it because it was about sales and stuff, and I'm thinking, ooh. But for me, it's the networking and the mentorship, which is just absolutely fabulous. And meeting people like yourself, because we don't know whether our paths would have crossed. I mean, I hope they would have, but you just don't know. So yeah, and if I need to have like a photographer on board or a copywriter to fulfill the brief that the client has, then there's just more lovely women to pick from. They're so talented. So yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Oh, so I'm taking it that you've been speaking to new people then. Have you actually met some new people that and have you offered your services at all yet? Have you braved it?
Well, I've briefly talked about my services, and someone put in the chat, oh, I'll have to pass you on to my clients, because I think I hide my light under a bushel, and I don't really sort of sell all the things I can do. But I have other interests and other passions as well.
Yeah.
So my time is pulled between different things.
It is something that I completely resonate with, because when I look at my life right now and the things that I consider myself committed to, it is I look like a crazy person. I look like someone actually I will apologize. I look like someone who really isn't quite settled on what they want to do. But in my mind, I am so clear. There's certain things that I do that fill up my cup. And there's certain things that I do because I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
And I have a handful of things that manage to fall into both circles. And I'm not willing to let go of them. I'm just unwilling. I've done some things where, like you cut down your time and you say you're going to focus on something. And once that's sorted, you move on to the next. Yeah. But there are a couple of things that I just couldn't afford to let go. And so I'm finding the balance, and it's not a killer. Homeschooling hasn't helped. I'm not going to lie. But I think it's so interesting that you're aware that your circle, the circle of interest, or the things that you like to that make up who you are varied. But you've got this as your main skill set. You've got this as your business that you've set up, and you're just ready. You're ready to upgrade this so that it can build a more viable future for you. Which is a completely valid ask, by the way.
I think when you've got an entrepreneurial brain, though, these ideas, these thoughts, and your passions pop up all the time, and your brain is just moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And sometimes you got the time to act on them, and some things, and other times you haven't. But when you do act on things that you're passionate about, and very passionate about equality,
Yeah.
then other things have to slide. So,
Yeah.
if my son wants his dinner doing, and I'm on a theme about race equality or what have you, I'm like,
Yeah.
son, there's the kitchen.
Sorry, hun. You get yourself sorted, darling. Mum's got like serious stuff to get on with. So
Exactly.
I really do want to make sure I do touch on it though. When it comes to your life as a graphic designer, I'm like, how does that come about? I'm always curious, like when people have jobs that in like the creative spaces, like how they come to discover that. How did you end up here? Like, were you always into?
Well, I was only good at art at school. I was actually, and I'll admit this now
Wow.
because I'm old enough to own this. I was actually illiterate when I left school. I was from
Yeah.
a white working class family. People like me didn't go to university, and I wanted to do a BTEC at Stockport College in graphic design, which was one of the best courses at the time. And my mum said, "No, go and get a job." So I didn't, I had a B in art at school.
Wow.
So I remember saying to the careers guy, I want to be a graphic designer. And he looked at me like I was from another planet. He said, go and have a look at
Really?
aerial jobs. I thought, I can't even
What?
read and write properly,
Yeah.
So I hid that for many, many years, but I got a job as a studio junior. And that's when I started my path in the print and creative industries. And everything has been self-taught. I self-taught all the
Wow.
Adobe software, it was Quark Express. It used to be Quark Express. It's InDesign now. It used to be PageMaker back in the day. I've used
Oh
Illustrator
Lord.
and Photoshop since 1989, giving away my age there.
No way.
And so I've used all these packages all my life. Started working on Apple Macs a couple of years after I'd sort of been in the printing industry. And I've just had to teach myself to read and write and crack on with it. And it's been tough.
That's amazing.
15 years into my career, I started working at really, really nice companies that were really big. And so Swish, you wouldn't believe it.
Really?
And I'm
Oh
like,
wow.
that's when the imposter syndrome comes, like, me here.
What? Yes, you. Absolutely you.
Now, but I own the space now. But I would love to have a proper job again, but I do love being self-employed as well. It just gives you so much freedom. When I think of the years and years and years I've been sat behind a Mac, whereas being freelance, I can go out. Well, I used to be able to go out and network, but I'm doing with lovely people like yourself.
Yeah.
And connect with, actually, it's not just in a national market, it's an international global market now of people, and I absolutely love that. I didn't realize what a people person I was, actually, because I've been just chained to that Mac for too many years.
I think that is outstanding that you didn't realize you're a people person. You are so a people person. You seem so bubbly and like open and just ready to just be someone's friend. Like I can definitely I feel that from you already.
From me, that's really nice.
You can't be surprised. Like I can't imagine people will be like, oh yeah, that Nicola, Nicola's quite tough.
Go, don't worry about that.
I think it's amazing that you're self-taught as well. Like I don't know a lot of people who actually self-taught and like stay in the business for that long. I feel as though like they get over it at some point, but that might just be the experience that I've had. So it's quite encouraging.
I've got a creative brain, and I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something artistic, and it was either sort of fashion design, graphic design, or sort of window dressing. They were the only things that I could think of back then. I had no inroads into these companies that I ended up working for. And that used to really annoy me, actually, when, Sophie or Chloe would come in and sit down. And I'd always say to him, oh, who does your dad know on the board? And you were trying to show them the job that you do. And they're on the phone and they're not interested. And I'm thinking, I would have killed for an opportunity like this at your age to get my foot in the door.
Wow.
I've had to, scrabble my way up. Yeah, it's just, some people get it handed to them on a plate. Some people have to work damn hard for it. And I'm glad I've worked damn hard for it. Shows
Enjoy it.
appreciation.
Enjoy it. I know a lot of people who get things handed to them and they like do fantastic things with them. But I'm also aware of the kind of scenario that is described. It is one that's all too common. But I do think, especially in the freelancer sort of like solo entrepreneurial space, that you do have the grafters in here. You have people who at the very least, you've got this in common, that you're self-starters and you're people who want to make things happen on your own terms. Because even though, you theoretically, or definitely actually, had the freelancer life sort of like thrust upon you, you've gone, actually, this suits my joy better and I'm going to make this work.
Absolutely.
Because there's some people who are just like kept on trying to find a job. They would have just kept on trying to find a job that they could fit into after leaving one job. And for you to discover, like, you know what, that is not for me, even though there's some swish benefits to it. That is not for me. I want to do the hard graft life. Yeah, I also want to get paid and I want to live a nice, comfortable life as well.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure though to be able to do the school run, to be able to go to sports day, to be able to have that, quick medical appointment that's been sprung on you without all the guilt that is associated with that when you work for the man. It's terrible, really, that we shouldn't I don't know, I think companies think that once the employer, they own you, and the way I see it is, I will be loyal, I will do a really good job for you, you will pay me for that work, and then the deal is done.
Yeah, that's it. You don't own my life outside of that. It's so important.
And you do, especially in the work I do. I mean, sort of maternity discrimination affects 54,000 women a year. And it doesn't matter. You could have had all the privileges in life or had no privileges at all. Once you have that child, you're out the door.
Things change on you, and it's part of why I ended up leaving my job last year. Like, the pandemic was part of my thinking, but I was working part-time when I went back to work, because I just thought working full-time with 2 young kids just wasn't necessary, really. It didn't really compute for me, and so I was working part-time, but because of my childcare setup, I couldn't afford to go back to work and pay for child. It just wasn't physically, it just wasn't even possible at all. So I just was like, oh, I guess that's me not working anymore. And there was some freedom that I got in that, in thinking, okay, well, I've had to not leave my job because I can't afford to have childcare. And then after a couple of months of lockdown, I was like, why was I so determined to have a 9-to-5 job? Like, I've been like, my life is so different. My life is so my own. And it's such an odd space to be in, where you're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not running to work, not agitated by some project that's taken 2 times as long because people are so inefficient with their like workings. I don't have to live by rules that I don't believe in. I think that's the main thing. You still need to live by rules. You still have like work that you need to do, like even almost more work than usual. But it's a thing of, it's work on your terms and on your values and consistent with what you want for your life. So I think it's really amazing, like what you're doing and the way you offer your support to women, especially, and that you're on this program and you're making sure you're networking, you're going through these sessions, which are getting more and more intense. I feel as though they're upgrading every single week, and it's getting like I'm needing to spend more time to really reflect and think about what we're going to do. And I'm so excited to have met you as well. You're so lovely when you reached out. You're so nice, and your compliments as well.
Well, I would just encourage everyone to watch your channel. It's a really great way to meet other people on the program.
I think so. And it's great. It's great hearing your story and where you've come from, where you're at right now. And there's such amazing things coming, aren't there? So thank you. Thank you so much for talking to me today, Nicola. It's been so wonderful. And I'm sure I'll get to speak to you again.
You will. Bye now.
Bye.